The sweet release of death comes for us all, but in video games, it's a far trickier business. Whether it's a terrifying prospect of permadeath or finding out inventive ways of explaining endless character respawns over and over again, game over screens mean something different in every situation. Whilst it's never nice to get the crap kicked out of you or fall to your inevitable doom from great heights, sometimes it's completely necessary to making a game work. Sometimes, games want to teach you a lesson by cutting short your character's existence, offering up something unexpected as recompense. It might be learning a level layout so you can face it again in another run, or it might be a narrative compulsion to make the rest of the story work. Though it sounds counterintuitive to fun, death is often the only option. And when it's done well, you'll actually be thanking the game for pushing you through that mortal veil. So ready up your last words and pick out a nice burial site. As I'm Ash from WhatCulture Gaming, and these are 8 intense video game moments where you had to die.
Hey, just quickly to pop in before the list actually starts, I just want to talk to you about That Film Theory. If you don't know what that is yet, it's a brand new channel that's going to be about video essays, cinematic experiences, a bit more relaxed approach. Hopefully we'll see you there. You can find the details down below.
8. Prince of Persia 2: The Shadow and the Flame. Before there was Jake Gyllenhaal, before there was Sands of Time, before there was even Ubisoft's meddling fingers, there was a simpler time of a prince in Persia rendered with 8-bit kitschy graphics, fighting his way through treacherous caverns and terrible monsters to return to his rightful place beside the princess of the land. Oh, how lovely. In the second entry in the franchise, The Shadow and the Flame, there comes a point when the prince must leave his mortal body to take hold of the titular blue flame to defeat the evil Jafar. Entering the room with said torch triggers the warning of he who should steal the flame must die. And as it turns out, it's not a simple exaggeration of how much these bird people love their fire, you've got to take the words quite literally. Instead of simply trying to grab the fire like any old peasant, the prince must let himself be killed by the singular birdman enemy standing guard, and, most difficult of all, not skip the death cutscene. Doing so will make your shadowy soul jump out of your body, set ablaze with the flame, and gain the reverence of birdmen the world over. Not so bad for a purposeful death, though. 7. Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 2, the singular best title in the Mass Effect series and a serious contender for best science fiction game ever, opens with a bang, before reminding us that Mass Effect 1's Reapers aren't done with our galaxy yet, and an ambush on Commander Shepard's ship soon shows that the stakes really are life or death. There's not much option other than to just die, really. Playing as Shepard, you just about manage to get your pilot out of the fiery space death trap before being blasted into the unknown yourself, breaking your breathing apparatus and condemning Shepard to 2 years, yes, that's years of death before being brought back as one badass undead hero machine ready for round 2 on sorting the universe's crap out. Evil company Cerberus does a bang-up job of making your character as buff and custom as possible. So death really wasn't that bad after all, now you can get that jazzy red hair to play out the rest of your game with. 6. The Binding of Isaac. The lovable roguelike with a weeping child at its centre has its fair share of death from the simple design of its gameplay, in which you've got to build the strongest, most agile character to take down the denizens of evil in your way, including your own mother. Defeating a room of monsters makes way for the next one to be unlocked and traversed through, with a range of items and upgrades to be collected along the way. Like any difficult game of this type, The Binding of Isaac does have some rewards for players that aren't quite the deft hand at crawling through its dungeons. Achievements that give you better items come from dying over 100 times or from suffering in your own bodily fluid explosion, meaning a more interesting and potentially easier playthrough the next time around if scissors and little spewers are your thing. You can also be revived with certain items that will let you play as new characters, like Dark Judas, who has the highest damage multiplier in the game. Whilst dying isn't the way of winning Isaac, it's neat that it includes a nod to just how hard it is to complete the game when every construction is randomly generated. 5. The Cat Lady. A weird little psychological horror game named after the best type of person there is, The Cat Lady is about a lonely woman whose only friends are of the feline variety. After having just about enough of her everyday existence, despite all the cats, she makes the ill-fated decision to take her own life. Only an entity known as the Queen of Maggots has another plan for her, granting the cat lady immortality in a bid to get her to rid the world of parasites in the form of psychopaths. It's a strange, twisted narrative that ends up lending itself far better to failure in that every time you die, you come back to life in perfect health. One level of the game even designs itself around this concept, seeing the cat lady suffer from bleach to the face that blinds her, and the objective is to find a gun and, start over, as it were, to be able to see again. I would say there's some relief to this horrible narrative full of terrible people and harrowing consequences, but the cats are about it, really. And even they are weapons of mass-eating destruction. 4. Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor. Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor gets all the more interesting the more often you die. You're expected not to be able to hack a full game without passing away a little bit, since the game opens with your very own death scene as the Mortal Talion, where you merge with the Wraith Celebrimbor to wreak some serious revenge on the forces of Sauron. Whilst this is reason enough to be thankful for some badass death superpowers, the death mechanic throughout the rest of the game is also entertaining to toy around with. What makes Shadow of Mordor interesting is that each time you fail in combat and are overwhelmed by Uruks, the world around you changes. Anyone from a lowly grunt to a captain can take you out and get promoted, meaning that when you come back, there's a whole new conversation and range of taunts to go through with the suitably stronger enemy. It makes playing for revenge all the more fun, and breathes new life into the usually tired cutscenes and rehashes of repeat missions. Plus, smacking down an ugly Uruk that got lucky and is now sassing your resurrected ass is way more satisfying than it should be. 3. BioShock Infinite. Considering BioShock is one of the big daddies of the gaming world, and the pun is entirely intended, fans of the franchise are rightly split on whether BioShock Infinite is the best thing since sliced bread or a massive turd on a series that was seminal to video gaming as we know it. Whether you love it or hate it, however, the ending is still a solid example of a clever, winding narrative that the franchise is known for. It makes you appreciate your own universe-altering death like nothing else, even if it's just for the game ending. By the end of the time-hopping adventure, protagonist Booker DeWitt has found out that by some strange manipulation of space and time, he is ultimately both the hero and the villain of the BioShock Infinite world. His choice to accept a baptism and become Zachary Comstock in another timeline results in a tyrannical, oppressive leader reliant on religion to spread twisted ideologies. So it's by accepting to be drowned by a multitude of Elizabeths come to end the cycle that you started that you get some happiness out of your own death. It's a fitting end to a strange story, but a unique one at the very least. Deciding that your hero must die isn't nice, but it is the only way. 2. Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. One of the defining games of its time, as well as a fan favourite in the franchise, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is the prequel that sets off the Metal Gear universe. Starring good old Snake as a talented US government operative, he's tasked with stopping a weapon of mass destruction from being created and used for nuclear war. Sounds simple enough, right? There's a point in the game, however, when Snake is at death's door and must confront the Sorrow, a member of the Cobra team at the end of a winding river full of spirits of Snake's past that he's taken out. Just to remind you how trigger-happy you've gotten throughout the narrative. The only way to defeat him and move on in the game is to die yourself by touching a ghosty, drowning, or reaching the Sorrow's corpse, taking a revival pill to come back to life at the end of it. If you manage to evade all the spirits of your past, you can get some neat Sorrow camo gear that cloaks all noise, so you know that trip to the afterlife at least comes with souvenirs, and probably some traumatizing memories. 1. Bloodborne. Ah, here it is, one of the infamous games you've been waiting for. Of course, this is the number 1 game on this list. A faithful servant to the immeasurably difficult stylings of the Demon Souls gameplay, Bloodborne, just like Dark Souls and every other entry into the franchise that laughs as you die 4 million times in a row, makes a mockery of death mechanics like no other games on the market. Bloodborne is the chosen one here simply for its difficult opening, where you're facing off with a demonic werewolf. Armed with nothing much other than the raggedy clothes on your back and a frustratingly weak weapon or just some fists, the battle, like almost every single one in the wider game universe, is almost impossible. Dying is not all bad, however. As soon as you succumb to your inevitable fate for the first time, you're transported back to the hunter's dream, able to learn from your experiences, grow as a character, and arm yourself properly for the perils that await. For unsuspecting fans who didn't learn from the game's predecessors, it is one hell of a wake-up call. Trust me. And that's our list. What other games forced you to die? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. I've been Ash, and this has been WhatCulture Gaming. Make sure to subscribe to the WhatCulture YouTube channel for more lists like this. And don't forget to visit whatculture.com for daily news and articles. Thanks for watching.